morning, everyone. Welcome back to Virtual Preschool. I am so glad you have decided to join me today for circle time. All right, so let's figure out what the day of the week is. The last day of school we had was Tuesday, Wednesday. So today is Thursday. Yes, so let's move our rainbow arrow down to Thursday. Here we go. All right, and does anyone remember the name of our new month? April, yes. And so on the April heading, there is a flower and an umbrella. And remember what I told you on Tuesday, the little saying that goes along with April and May? April showers bring May flowers, right? So we have lots of rain in April so that we can have lots of flowers in May. All right, so let's do the numbers on the calendar. Here we go. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What comes next? 7. Yes, and let's figure out the pattern. Umbrella, umbrella, flower, flower. Umbrella, umbrella. What's next? Flower, yes. So we're going to have a number 7 with a flower on it. That was yesterday. That was the 4's class day. So we need to do one more number. 5, 6, 7. What comes next? 8. And our pattern, umbrella, umbrella, flower, flower. Umbrella, umbrella, flower. What comes next? Flower, yes. So we have a number 8 with a flower on it. So let's say our whole date. Today is Thursday, April 8th, 2021. All right, now we need to look out the window at your house to see what the weather is like. So when you look out your window, is it partly cloudy, cloudy, sunny, windy, rainy, stormy, or snowy? And if you step out the door, does it feel burning hot, hot, warm, cool, cold, or freezing cold? Now don't forget to check a weather app to see what the number is for the temperature, all right? So that will help you to learn what numbers go with what kinds of temperatures, how it feels outside. All right, so this week we've been talking all about spring. Remember on Tuesday we read this book, When Spring Comes, and it talked about lots of things having to do with spring, like the animals coming back from that migrated south, some of the birds coming out, or excuse me, animals coming out of hibernation, right? And chicks hatching from eggs and other birds hatching from eggs. We're starting to start plants for vegetable gardens, and let's see, the grass is turning green. There are leaves, or at least buds for leaves coming out on the trees, right? Let's see, what else? Look through my little book here. Lots of rain. We talked about that. And plants growing. We said that. Okay, so that's pretty much that was a lot about what was in our book on Tuesday. So today we have a little bit different book. This book is not specifically about spring, but it kind of relates a little bit. So let's see what it is. Now this is you may have read this book, or you also may have seen the movie that goes along with it. There's actually 2 movies. There's also a sequel to the first movie. This is called Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. So let's see what this is about. I love this book. We were all sitting around the big kitchen table. It was Saturday morning, pancake morning. Mom was squeezing oranges for juice. Henry and I were betting on how many pancakes we each could eat, and Grandpa was doing the flipping. Seconds later, something flew through the air, headed toward the kitchen ceiling, and landed right on Henry. After after we realized that the flying object was only a pancake, we all laughed, even Grandpa. Breakfast continued quite uneventfully. All the other pancakes landed in the pan, and all of them were eaten, even the one that landed on Henry. Have you ever had a pancake flip and land on your head? That night, touched off by the pancake incident at breakfast, Grandpa told us the best tall tale bedtime story he'd ever told. Does anyone know what a tall tale is? A tall tale is kind of like a pretend story, right? So something that didn't really happen, but super cool anyways. Across an ocean, over lots of huge, bumpy mountains, across 3 hot deserts and 1 smaller ocean, there lay the tiny town of Chew and Swallow. In most ways, it was very much like any other tiny town. It had a main street lined with stores, houses with trees and gardens around them, a schoolhouse, about 300 people, and some assorted cats and dogs. But there were no food stores in the town of Chew and Swallow. They didn't need any. The sky supplied all the food they could possibly want. The only thing that was really different about Chew and Swallow was its weather. It came 3 times a day, at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything that everyone ate came from the sky. Wow, wouldn't that be something? That's a whole different story than how we say, like there's that saying that people say it's raining cats and dogs, right? When it's really heavy rain. This is a little different. This is raining food. Whatever the weather served, that was what they ate. But it never rained rain. It never snowed snow. And it never blew just wind. It rained things like soup and juice. It snowed mashed potatoes and green peas. And sometimes the wind blew in storms of hamburgers. The people could watch the weather report on television in the morning, and they would even hear a prediction for the next day's food. When the townspeople went outside, they carried their plates, cups, glasses, forks, spoons, knives, and napkins with them. That way, they would always be prepared for any kind of weather. If there were leftovers, and there usually were, the people took them home and put them in their refrigerators in case they got hungry between meals. The menu varied. By the time they woke up in the morning, breakfast was coming down. After a brief shower of orange juice, low clouds of sunny-side-up eggs moved in, followed by pieces of toast. Butter and jelly sprinkled down for the toast, and most of the time it rained milk afterwards. For lunch one day, frankfurters already in their rolls blew in from the northeast at about 5 miles an hour. So frankfurters in rolls are hot dogs in buns, in case you didn't know. There were mustard clouds nearby. Then the wind shifted to the east and brought in baked beans. A drizzle of soda finished off the meal. Soda is pop, what we call pop in Michigan. When I lived in Texas, we called all soda or pop Coke. Kind of weird. Dinner one night consisted of lamb chops, becoming heavy at times, with occasional ketchup. Periods of peas and baked beans were followed by gradual clearing, with a wonderful Jell-O sitting in the west. The sanitation department of Chew and Swallow had a rather unusual job for a sanitation department. It had to remove the food that fell on the houses and sidewalks and lawns. The workers cleaned things up after every meal and fed all the dogs and cats. Then they emptied some of it into the surrounding oceans for the fish and turtles and whales to eat. The rest of the food was put back into the earth so that the soil would be richer for the people's flower gardens. Life for the townspeople was delicious until the weather took a turn for the worse. The Chew and Swallow Digest. Spaghetti ties up town. So this is their newspaper. One day, there was nothing but gorgonzola cheese all day. The next day, there was only broccoli overcooked. And the next day, there were Brussels sprouts and peanut butter with mayonnaise. Ugh. Another day, there was a pea soup fog. No one could see where they were going, and they could barely find the rest of the meal that got stuck in the fog. The food was getting larger and larger, and so were the portions. The people were getting frightened. Violent storms blew up frequently. Awful things were happening. On Tuesday, there was a hurricane of bread and rolls all day long and into the night. There were soft rolls and hard rolls, some with seeds and some without. There was white bread and rye and whole wheat toast. Most of it was larger than they had ever seen bread and rolls before. It was a terrible day. Everyone had to stay indoors. Roofs were damaged, and the sanitation department was beside itself. The mess took the workers 4 days to clean up, and the sea was full of floating rolls. To help out, the people piled up as much bread as they could in their backyards. The birds picked at it a bit, but it just stayed there and got staler and staler. There was a storm of pancakes one morning and a downpour of maple syrup that nearly flooded the town. A huge pancake covered the school. No one could get it off because of its weight, so they had to close the school. Lunch one day brought 15-inch drifts of cream cheese and jelly sandwiches. Everyone ate themselves sick, and the day ended with a stomachache. There was an awful salt and pepper wind accompanied by an even worse tomato tornado. People were sneezing themselves silly and running to avoid the tomatoes. The town was a mess. There were seeds and pulp everywhere. The sanitation department gave up. The job was too big. Everyone feared for their lives. They couldn't go outside most of the time. Many houses had been badly damaged by the giant meatballs. Stores were boarded up, and there was no more school for the children. So a decision was made to abandon the town of Chew and Swallow. It was a matter of survival. The people glued together the giant pieces of stale bread sandwich style with peanut butter, took the absolute necessities with them, and set sail on their rafts for a new land. After being afloat for a week, they finally reached a small coastal town which welcomed them. The bread had held up surprisingly well enough for them to build temporary houses for themselves out of it. The children began school again, and the adults tried to find places for themselves in the new land. The biggest change they had to make was getting used to buying food at a supermarket. They found it odd that the food was kept on shelves, packaged in boxes, cans, and bottles. Meat that had to be cooked was kept in large refrigerators. Nothing came down from the sky except rain and snow. The clouds above their heads were not made of fried eggs. No one ever got hit by a hamburger again, and nobody dared to go back to Chew and Swallow to find out what had happened. They were too afraid. Henry and I were awake until the very end of Grandpa's story. I remember his goodnight kiss. The next morning, we woke up to see snow falling outside our window. We ran downstairs for breakfast and ate it a little faster than usual so we could go sledding with Grandpa. It's funny, but even as we were sliding down the hill, we thought we saw a giant pat of butter at the top. And we could almost smell mashed potatoes. So the sun looked like the giant pat of butter, and the snowy hill looked like the mashed potatoes. The end. All right, I like that story. It's pretty good. The movies that go along with it are also very good. So we have an activity to go along with this book. You're going to make your own page from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. So you're going to either write or trace your name up here. So this would say Miss Mika, or your name, predicts that it will be cloudy with a chance of, and you're going to think of some kind of food to put down here that could be raining from the sky. All right, some kind of food weather. Try to think of something that wasn't in the book, something different, a different kind of food that was not in the book. So then you're going to trace or write whatever works for you and your parents down here, the food that's going to be raining from the sky, and then you're going to draw a picture of the food raining up here. Okay? So that's the first thing I have to show you. I also have a couple activities for the water cycle. So the water cycle is what happens when it rains. Okay, so I'm going to kind of, usually when we have in-person preschool, I draw this up on the big whiteboard and I can show very easily what happens. But this time I'm going to kind of show you on the work that we have in our packet. So you have this sheet with these little pieces attached. All right, so we are going to start with precipitation. So there's a word right here. These are all some fancy science words for you to learn. So precipitation. Precipitation means rain, okay? And here's the picture of clouds with rain falling down. So you're going to take some glue and you're going to glue this. This glue stick's a little bit dried out. See if I can get it going here. Oh, goodness. All right, so you're going to put some glue on the back of your rain cloud here and glue it inside where it says precipitation right here. So rain is falling down, that's called precipitation, and then down here something happens called accumulation. All right, and that's where water collects in rivers, lakes, streams, puddles on the ground even, right? Anywhere that water can fall from the sky, rain can fall, and it gets caught. All right, so even if you have a bucket outside, that can collect rainwater, right? So rainwater accumulates on the earth. So here's our picture of that shows our water accumulating. All right. So in rivers, streams, lakes, puddles. Then, there's the lights again. Then the water is heated by the sun. All right, so we're going to put the sun up here. So here's our sun right here. The water gets heated by the sun. There's our sun. And it causes this water here to do something called evaporate. All right, you can see evaporation if you fill a glass with cold water and set it out on your countertop if it's warmer in your house. And on the outside of the glass, little droplets will be kind of falling down, and that is called evaporation. All right, so I know these pictures don't fit perfectly. I didn't make this myself. So there is the rainwater, or the water that's collected, accumulated down here, is evaporating up because of the heat of the sun. And then it's condensating, all right, and turning into clouds, all right, and then raining down, which is called precipitation. So rain is precipitation. When it collects on the ground, it's called accumulation. When it is heated by the sun and goes up into the sky, it is called evaporation. And then it condenses, condensation, condenses into clouds, and the clouds get really heavy with rain droplets, and it rains again. So it's called a water cycle because it goes around and around and around, and the same thing keeps happening. Sorry about the glare, you guys. All right, then we also, and I'm not going to show you how to do this because we're kind of running long on our time here. You have a water cycle wheel that you can put together, so your parents or your grandparents or whoever are with you today can help you to put this together. The directions are right on there. The trickiest part that the grown-ups will probably want to do is cutting out these little sections right here. All right, and you also have a little brad to hold the whole thing together. All right. And then you also have a little experiment. This is called raindrop plop. All right. And you should hopefully still have your little eyedropper that I sent home a few weeks ago. And you'll need a little container of water. And you're going to want to do this on top of a tray or something that can hold the water if it drips. You're going to see how many drops of water will fit in each of these raindrop pictures. Okay, so squeeze your eyedropper, put it in the water, let go of your squeeze. Then you're going to pick one of these and you're going to squeeze drops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So about 20 drops fit in this smaller one up on top. All right, so you can have your grown-ups at home help you to count if the numbers get really high. Figure out how many drops will fit in each of these raindrops on the paper. All right, so that is what I have to share with you today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I will see some of you today at 10:30 for small group, and tomorrow, Friday, is packet pickup, so don't forget. Bye, everyone.